So with that, I am now going to introduce the speakers for today. Firstly, we have the lovely Kat Coode from Binary Tattoo. She's a friend of Durham College working with us on a project and has been on numerous advisory boards. I met her at the CISO Forum, CyberX's CISO Forum, and since then we've built a strong relationship and are working closely with each other. Kat, thank you for everything that you do, for inspiring us, and for agreeing to mentor this session. Along with Kat, we have our first speaker for the day, and that is Amit Chopra, another good friend of mine that I met during my Orion days at Lakefield College. Amit is a good friend of mine, has come to numerous events at Durham College. He is the director of IT at Lakefield College and has a wealth of knowledge, and he'll be joining us today and giving his perspective on certain questions. We then have, who is truly and truly not just a mentor, but a friend and a loved one, Dino, the former CIO of Niagara District School Board, now the CEO, Chief Everything Officer of Spark Niagara. During my days at Orion, Dino was the individual who guided me through a lot of my work. In fact, Dino was the individual who helped me, along with Farouk, to write the blueprint for the cybersecurity program at Orion. Dino, thank you for taking me up on this offer to join us, and I'm looking forward to learning from you. We then have someone with a wealth of guitars behind him, Chris Demers. He has already become my best friend because of his guitars. And he is from the, let me just make sure I'm getting this correct, Waterloo Catholic District School Board, all the way from Waterloo, joining us today in this virtual session. Chris, thank you for taking me up on the offer to do this session. We then have Chris Marvell from Lambton Kent District School Board. I have a lot of friends from that area, especially Lambton College. I used to participate in their mobile summit, and I'm well known in that community as well. You can say hi to a couple of the folks in IT there. They knew me very well, especially when the networks went down, and they never picked up their calls after that. So Chris, nice to have you on board. You are still unmuted, so I hope that that's from your end and not from ours. And lastly, Ruchi, please make sure Chris Marvell is unmuted. Lastly, we have Ted Demers.
Unmuted. It's just that if you mute yourself, then you're not going to have the capability to unmute yourself again.
Oh, I see.
All the speakers as well as the moderators, I'd request if you don't mute yourselves at all, because every time you mute yourself, you will not be able to unmute yourself.
I see. Thank you.
All right, and Dino Miele, Ruchi, if you can unmute Dino, he's done the
doing that right away.
Muting himself. And lastly, we have a dear friend of the college, a local company here in Whitby, the CEO of SIMNET, Ted DeVos, has supported Durham College AI Hub consistently. He sponsored our trip to the CISO Forum and the amazing bus that we got. He supported the Global Cyber Olympics Games, supported our contingents to women in cybersecurity. So thank you, Ted, for everything that you do. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Kat. Kat, it's your show, and I'm ready to take notes and enjoy the session. Over to you, Kat.
Yay, thank you so much. All right, I was privileged to be on a talk last week, and I know we were already getting a number of questions about schools going online from students and parents and educators. So this is clearly a hot topic. I have been teaching internet safety in schools for 7 years, and I'm a cybersecurity expert myself. And I know, again, we get questions on safe use of technology in the best of times. So we are now approaching a new way to educate. So we're going to go to our school educators first, and we're going to talk about the technologies that we're using in schools. What are the schools using, and what do educators and parents need to know about those tools? Why don't we start with Chris Demers?
Yeah, I'm actually going to share my screen while I do this. At our board, we are making available Chromebooks for parents in need, and we distributed for families in need, and we've distributed over 2,700 Chromebooks to parents who have expressed a need for their children to have that. We're also distributing internet devices for over 400 of our families for those who do not have home internet access. We have a wealth of information online available to our community as far as utilization of safe devices and utilization of and safely using their computers. So we have a responsible use of technology a procedure posted online, and within that we have listed all of our green tools which are allowed to be used within the Waterloo District Catholic School Board environment and on our computers, and they've been tested and they've been endorsed by our board as being safe and being green tools. And we have cautioned all of our educators to avoid tools that are not on our green list. And what we have done is we've posted online a Learn at Home website, which includes frequently asked questions, tips for parents, and the tips for parents page includes ways that they can get a hold of technology. Hey, it has this webinar today. It has videos and how to connect their devices and different areas in multiple languages on how to connect to student logins for online learning. We've also created, for parents in need, those who could not get devices or want devices in the future, we have links to Computers for Schools and Green Tech, who we have a local partnership with, that can get free devices to low-income families. And here's this sample of what Computers for Schools offers. And for our educators, we have created an Educator from Home site, and that Educator from Home site includes instructions on how to safely remote instruct, such as creating video content, how to safely tips for virtual meetings, and other items. And plus, we've rolled out to all of our staff. Thanks to Chris Marvell from Lambton, Kent, we plagiarized all of his videos, which spoke to cybersecurity, and it's mandatory for all of our staff to go through this, and they can use these videos as digital citizenship tools with their students to teach global competencies in digital citizenship. So that's what we've done so far.
That's excellent. And is that accessible to anyone, or is that only accessible to people within your school board?
These videos are accessible to people with a Waterloo Catholic District School Board link, but we're working through the Educational Computing Network of Ontario and the ECNO and OASBO, the Ontario Association of School Business Officials, to put online a generic version of these videos and this content, so that so any school board in Ontario would have access to it. And that should be coming online pretty soon.
Excellent. So hopefully we'll get that link and then we can send it out to everyone that's here later. Chris Marvell, although they've stolen all your videos, clearly. Other than that, what other tools are you using? What other things do people need to know about the tools that are being deployed right now?
Yeah, the first thing I'd like to say is a big shout out to all the teachers out there that really have stepped up to the plate here. Completely different environment for them. A lot of them are under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, and they're making this up as they go along at times, and with everybody's support as much as we can. I'm just going to share my screen and just give you an idea. We have collated, our program department has collated a full Learn at Home resource with both elementary online, secondary online resources, where they've actually gone through and they've looked at the best of class of what's accessible, what is safe for students and parents and teachers to use. We have even now set up, and we don't normally provide direct IT support to students. That's normally through the school and the teachers. But now we've set up separate lines. So if a student is having problems with their technology, they can contact us directly. We've provided our app catalog, how they install it on our iPads. We're delivering like 2,300 devices, iPads and Chromebooks. We have a loan agreement, which reaches back to our responsible use of technology as well, because there's a certain amount of individual responsibility required here. But another big thing that we've been focusing on is mental health support. In other types of crisis, kids can still play together. They can still socialize. And so basically we have focused quite a bit on mental health, because this is unlike anything that a lot of people have lived through. The other thing that I wanted to share is this, and it's basically a not very well put together slide of what we consider the 4 pillars of cyber safety. Okay, because it isn't just IT. IT doesn't manage classrooms, it doesn't manage students. And believing that we can have a 100% foolproof IT solution is, I'm afraid, you know, it just doesn't happen. There's a lot of stuff that can happen outside of our control, like student personal use of their own personal devices. So we've got 4 pillars: IT, and that is really set up for the school environment. So this current environment is a challenge. Education and supervision by the teachers. And basically it's educating the teachers on the risks. All of our teachers have to go through that cybersecurity course, and we've been sending out lots of reminders about phishing attacks and other privacy issues recently, and supervising the students when they're online, how to supervise a Google Meet and make sure everybody's behaving safely. The third pillar is student accountability, and depending on the grade, this may change. But we've had incidents where no matter what we put in place, students are bound and determined to go around those and perhaps act in a risky manner. So we talk about that we do hold students accountable depending on their grade. And the last one is parental support. So support from the parents with good behavior, good practices, assistance, and knowing what's going on in the house, how to support their child, and then helping us with any incidents that we see. These pillars traditionally fall heavily towards the left-hand side in a normal school setting. But now we're reliant now on the right-hand side with what we can provide in terms of support. So the focus has changed a little bit. And this webinar is a great discussion point for people to understand how things have shifted, even though they weren't set up for that way. So doing much of all the same things that Chris Demers is doing as well. Thank you.
Excellent. And just one thing I wanted to touch on that we actually hadn't mentioned is there was an e-learning component that was supposed to come out for high schools for Ontario. And we have to be very clear, because I've seen a lot of people saying, well, you know, Ontario was talking about this and people were pushing back on it, and now we're doing it anyway. This is completely different. I think both Chris's have touched on this. We are moving elementary school students online that have never been online. I have 2 children myself. My older one was already using Google Meet, so for her to switch to using Google Docs has been seamless. My younger one has never used it, doesn't even know how to use email, and now she's getting calendar invitations for Google Meetups. And so that technology learning, in addition to everything else that's going on, can also be another barrier. Yeah, Chris.
My wife's a teacher. I think every IT manager should be married to a teacher that's in education. This is not e-learning. There's a teacher meme out there. This is not e-learning. This is crisis learning as best as they can. And we have to remember the mental wellness aspects of this and treat that just as importantly as any curriculum side of things.
And then you're also going to have teachers that are very tech savvy and teachers that are less tech savvy, right? So that's going to be a barrier, and they are all, as Chris said, they're all working super hard right now to try and help our children. So we really want to support those teachers as best we can. Amit, what's going on in your world?
So, well, certainly we do not have 2,300 devices being deployed. We are a private school. We have a population of about 380 students and from 45 different countries. But like other schools, we have set our responsible use agreement. We have set up, actually, you know what, I'll just share my screen right now and then we'll go from there. So we have set up our Learning with Lakefield remotely program, and our communications department, our administration, absolutely kudos to them to our teachers, for our academic department, our communications, our administration, our head of school, to put this all together. This is just a phenomenal thing that we have done for our families, and currently we are supporting students in 45 different countries and different time zones, needless to say, and some of the students are in China. That being said, Zoom is our go-to tool for delivering our curriculum remotely. I do understand a lot of private, a lot of public institutions have blocked Zoom, but unfortunately no other digital conferencing platform really works well in China, and so we have to leverage Zoom. On the other hand, we have secured Zoom up to a greater extent, and we have shared all the security around Zoom. We have empowered our community to use Zoom in the most secure way as possible. And interestingly, we are having this meeting on Zoom as well. So yes, the kind of tools that Zoom offers is quite robust, I must say that. And if it is secured, it's really not that big of an insecurity. At least for our community, we are good on that front. On the other hand, from the IT perspective and for the program delivery, we have set up our learning protocols for our students, for our parents. We are delivering them support. We have set up a ticketing system for our students, parents, and our staff members. And kudos to our teachers for supporting this initiative and learning while they are supporting our community remotely, which is just phenomenal. We have set up our protocols for students and parents. We have set up our, we have pretty much narrowed down to how and what we are going to be delivering, how the program goes. We are conducting classes as they are supposed to be conducted. Teachers are using synchronous and asynchronous delivery of their curriculum. They are having everyday classes. Attendance is being taken every day for their classes. They need to join in. We are having TGIFs. We are having social gatherings for our students to go online. Obviously, moderator controlled Zoom rooms. For that, we have breakout sessions. We have our full school chapel happening all the time. Our support is provided by teachers, the department champions, program area leaders, and needless to say, our amazing IT department that's in the school, and we are managing the entire remote learning very well, I must say that. And and just to summarize, we have put together the responsible use agreement and acceptable use policy for our digital conferencing, and they must abide by that for them to be learning. We are offering co-curriculars. We are offering, there is the full student guide on standards and expectations and timetables and what's going to happen, what tools to use, what tools not to use, and what are the green tools that can be used. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Lakefield. We are a good school. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing from all three of you certainly was some kind of code of conduct. So every school has something online that is asking kids for their own safety and for the safety of the school and their other students to sign that code of conduct. So if that's something your school's not doing, that is something you might want to consider putting into place. I'm glad you brought up Zoom too. I know it's been getting a lot of flack online. Every tool to me is like a knife. It's innately dangerous, but if you know how to use it safely, it's a very useful tool. So to me, Zoom can be used safely if you've got it set up well, password protected. You can use waiting rooms to make sure people can come in. So if people are using Zoom, please don't panic. It is not the evil of all evils. There are safe ways to use Zoom. And again, it sounds like Google Meet seems to be, the public school board seems to be on Google Meet, and that seems to be the bigger tool. So what we're having though is a problem now is people have moved into their homes. Every situation is different. You've got 5 people in one home on one computer sharing one computer. You have various computers. You've got work things coming into the house. So we have created an environment in our homes that actually requires cybersecurity measures that we may not have needed before. So we're going to go to Dino first and talk about the privacy and security measures we now need to consider for our own homes.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to do a shout out not only to the students, educators, and parents, but even to the IT department. I do recall what it was like to be in the engine room at these kind of periods. So my hat's off to you folks out there in the K-12 IT departments and the higher ed. And second of all, it's important to remember that the Learn at Home program is not virtual learning. It is not e-learning. It is not an environment. It's just as Chris said, it's a crisis response right now to try and get something going so that we can get remedial connection to the students and parents into the home. The important part here is that the devices in the home, for those that do have it, and those that have multiple devices, because we could have a tablet, a laptop, or an iPhone or an Android phone, is that we have to look at how are those devices secure and what kind of privacy information are we giving up when we're going online. And those are very important things to consider, especially now that as a parent or even as someone who is a working individual, you don't think you've got anything to hack. You don't think you've got anything that can be taken away from you because you don't realize you're leaving a digital footprint out there. So the risks that you can have is things like email scams. You can have phishing that happens. There's malware that can hit you. You can affect your online reputation. You don't even know it by, going to a certain site without knowing it, and it's recorded and it gets to the employer or to a parent or to a teacher. You can also create issues with your credit and financial situation out there. Cyberbullying can happen. Identity theft. The online privacy is really important, and it's really important that we know how to take care of those areas. And when you go to sites or when you're using apps on your computers or your devices, your iPhone and things like that, you're not realizing that data is being collected. Data is going somewhere. So read what the app says, what their privacy system is, where the data is being held, where are you connecting that you're leaving a digital footprint. So the four things I like to consider in this whole thing is that you have to understand the security mechanisms that are available on your device, whether it's the router in your home or the firewall or the Wi-Fi connection. What's the physical security that you've put in place for you as a teacher, parent, or student? What are you keeping up to date on your systems? Learn a little bit about how to do your updates for Windows or do your updates in any of the other devices that you have or Mac iOS, because there's a lot of different devices out there that they have to deal with, the teachers and the IT department in these schools and the higher education system. But the other thing is, what are you doing to keep the bad stuff out? Are you using a virtual private network? Are you using a firewall of some sort? So those are four things that you have to consider. And I know it sounds techy, but there is help out there. There's places we can reach out to. And I kudos to what I've seen so far on our call today of how you're reaching out to the homes, because as a father of several children, they are co-working, and I have grandchildren in, my kids have children in their home, and it's very stressful to have one place to work and one place to learn. So it is a stressful time. So thank you for allowing me to share those 4 items.
That's great. And I appreciate you saying updates. That's one of those things that's so easy that people often discount. When you get an update for a product, it'll usually say, hey, great new feature, because that company doesn't want to advertise that they have a security hole. But almost guaranteed every time an update comes out, if it's for your router or your browser or for your device, it is plugging a security problem in that device. So please, if there's one thing you do, is to make sure everything that you have has been updated from a security perspective. So we're going to go to Ted. So Ted, you are you're doing cybersecurity for a living. So what do you think here for this new home environment that we have? What do we need to know from a privacy and security perspective?
Well, having 2 kids that are dealing with this situation, I can appreciate what you must all be going through as in the education field. From what I can see, it comes down to common passwords seem to be an issue. Kids using the same passwords for all their applications online. So one site gets compromised and now their entire system's compromised. To how they're saving data, if it's local to the network or local to their workstations or on thumb drives until they're ready to upload it to Google Docs or share it with their parents or share it through email or share it with the teachers. So making sure that systems are properly encrypted. I mean, if you're using a Chromebook, then Chromebooks are by default encrypted. If you're using an Apple device, it's encrypted, but a lot of people are using Microsoft Windows. And if they don't have BitLocker turned on, then something happens to their device. Their data is available no matter where they are. So there's risks to that. I mean, the password component to me is the largest piece. Having a proper password management tool that lets you have unique passwords across, all of your offerings, all of your websites, all of your applications, and obviously patching is making sure that things are current. I mean, as Dino mentioned, it's currency is what or making things exploit free would be where the challenges are, especially when it comes to IoTs with in-house devices. Small firewalls help, but not everybody's going to run a firewall in their house. As mentioned, virtual private networks with VPN tunnels, especially if you're sharing work computers, making sure that data doesn't stay on them. All those pieces become challenges. So anti-spam, anti-malware, antivirus, that's where we would see the risks when it comes to what the students are looking at and how teachers or educators are connecting to the devices.
That's great. All right, so I know a lot of you have talked a little bit about some of you have talked about the websites that you have and the links that you have. Is there best practices? Is there something that you would suggest? We're going to go through each person, and what best practices do you have from the teacher's perspective as well? Because again, a lot of these teachers aren't technical and they're trying to deliver from home. I know one best practice in our house, we have 2 working parents and kids online. So my husband and I try not to schedule meetings during our kids' school time because the bandwidth of pulling that much video at the same time tends not to work. Like at this very moment, I've been told I've already said no streaming anything because I'm on a webinar. So that's our best practice. Not so much from a privacy perspective, but just from a use perspective, because it can be quite frustrating. So we'll start back again with Chris Demers. What do you think best practices for educators, parents, or students in this world on approaching this online learning?
Right. So for parents, one of the biggest things that we've been alerting our staff about is scams around COVID-19. So we've been seeing our inboxes sometimes with messages from scammers who are saying, "Hey, we are a school administrator, or we're your IT security department. Click on this link. You got to change your password. You got to buy this COVID-19 thing to protect yourself." There's a lot of scammers out there right now. So we're informing our staff and our students to be wary of scams right now, and any scams in general that could lead to people taking over and controlling their computers. So we inform people, if you do not trust it, do not click on it, do not go there. Do not do what this is saying. You should 100% verify that the source and that you trust the source.
Awesome. All right, great. Chris, Marvell, what about you? What best practices are you suggesting?
There are a few things at the moment, and yes, we're seeing an increase in cybersecurity and phishing attacks, and so it's educating everybody. Privacy is a big thing. People are, they want to communicate, and it's educating both the teachers and the parents not to put stuff in emails that really shouldn't be communicated in a plain text email that isn't encrypted, as they're trying to help and support these students. And just to also reinforce what Chris said, use the tools that have been provided, use the tools that have been vetted, use the tools that we know are safe. This is the wrong time to be innovating too much and starting to grab the latest thing out there when it hasn't properly been vetted. And free is not good. They get their revenue from somewhere. And if it's not from a contract or an account, we don't know where they're getting that revenue from. And it could well be from exploiting data. So watch out for those 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Amit, what about you? Best practices for people? Amit?
Hi, sorry. Yes, so for us, we are educating our staff and students to make sure not to share their Zoom links or their Zoom invitations, Zoom IDs, anywhere on the internet. We are also making sure that they do understand the difference between a phishing attack and a regular email. Also encrypting all the data that is being sent. So we are using a platform called XP, which a lot of district school boards are using. So all our major communications need to be happening through XP or through a personalized email to their teachers, but less personalized email, more through XP, so that everything is moderated over there. On the other hand, we are an Apple school, so every student and every staff member does have an Apple computer with them. So yes, Apple itself has a robust infrastructure, so we are not too concerned about hacking as such. Though we have cybersecurity put into all our computers. Every machine is managed by mobile device management, and we are pushing all sorts of antivirus and moderating software on those computers to manage their activities, not spying on their activities, but just manage the best services for them to be safe on the internet. As for phishing and all, we are sending regular reminders. We have a 24-hour help desk open for ticketing. So as soon as you receive something, if it looks suspicious, please fire it off to us, and so we can identify, and we can let you know if it is safe to open the attachment or not. We are advising them not to open any attachments from any unknown people. And as others have said, please do not indulge in any free software being offered for cybersecurity or anything like that. Every software needs to be pushed out through our MDM, and every software needs to be installed by the IT department to their machines. And this way we can control all the software products that they are using, and not allowing them to use, for example, on our iPads, they are not even allowed, they do not even have the capacity to install their own apps. It needs to be pushed through our MDM solution. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And for our policies, we have made sure that they all have agreed to not to post their meeting IDs on the social media. We have made sure they do not share school logos or school recordings with anyone without proper authorization. And we have also made sure to understand, which is very important, to make sure that your surroundings are being captured by your camera and conferencing devices like microphones. So make sure your surroundings and individuals in your surroundings are aware of those things, so that mistakenly, if somebody is talking about something private around you while you are on a video conference, you don't want that to be spread out to the entire world. So yeah, we are just following those best practices and making sure that everyone stays safe. Thank you.
That's excellent. And you know what, from a corporate perspective, when we talk about cybersecurity in a company, we talk about creating cultures of cybersecurity where everyone in that company has a role to play. So if you see that you think you have a phishing scam, like you said, you send it in, and you're not penalized for having maybe clicked on something. Instead, you're applauded for having shared it and brought it to people's attention. And now we're going to have to share that with kids. Kids have to understand that they're not going to get in trouble if they accidentally did something or clicked on a link. The better thing would be to please share it with the schools so that the schools can take a look at it and make sure they mitigate any problem, to make sure that it's so imparting that, especially on kids, to let them know that they're not going to get in trouble, that if something's happened that they think might be wrong, that they should really let people know. That's great. What about you, Dino? What do you think best practices in this time of everyone working from home?
Well, some of the experience we're having right now ourselves as a community-based innovation and support center for co-working space, even though we're closed down, we're totally virtual. So we're being supportive and looking at simple things like you said, Kat, is like established routines. That's important right now because of the situation we're under, and having an area where where learning is going to be reflected, and when it's time for mom and dad to have to do their work. Another one is identify a workspace. And it's really difficult in a home to get one space where you can at least know that when you get in there, that's, you're focused in your zone. We're joking, we use the Pomodoro effect, we call it. It's 25 minutes of working hard as you're a parent on your online work, and then take a break 25 minutes, take a break, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's an old, I don't know if it's an Italian thing, but we loved it. It's called the Pomodori method. The other thing that we talk about is communication with teachers if possible. I know it's difficult right now, but the school boards have done a great job of using, Google or Microsoft Teams and things like that for email, texting, or phone. But phone would be best if you could, because teachers do like that easier right now under the considerations that they have to follow with certain constraints that they have. I would do regular check-ins. Become part of the teacher if you can. I know it's hard, but it doesn't all have to be. This isn't about curriculum now. It's if you want to use Play-Doh and have some fun or create a little maker space in your home to engage the kids on something other than just math and literacy and reading things online. It's fun to have that connection. The other one that we talk about is help their learning by collaborating with other peers. If you know that the kids that they hang around with next door, you can call them on the phone. Maybe you can do a little hangout or a little Zoom call with them, supervised with the parents. And because that's what students love to do in schools, right? They're social. They work in groups at times. And it also helps mom and dad because you can see that it relieves the stress level and they're engaged. Make sure that you know what's happening with the email accounts and what they're getting from the schools. If there's emails not coming directly to you, is there other emails that the kids are getting? And the biggest one is protect your privacy. Don't leave the front door open, right? So make sure that you ensure, as we said earlier, that all the apps that you use, all the things that you have, the security features of your devices, try and get online, look on YouTube and learn a little bit about that. It keeps you busy. Knowing that you're securing your home environment because of the connection to the internet. We're also talking about physical activity. We even have 15 to 20-minute Zoom calls where we'll get someone online and help the local community do some physical activity. And then be mindful of stress in the home right now for all educators, parents, children, and stay social. Connect to the social networks very carefully, but stay social and responsible. Respect what technology is all about. And remember that there's digital citizenship that has to happen. So those are the 10 points we tend to do here in Niagara.
Excellent. All right. And Ted, do you want to best practices, close us off with those?
I think we've already sort of iterated them earlier. Best practice would be, keep things current, making sure your software is current. And I didn't mention it earlier, but where it's possible, what applications it's possible on, two-factor authentication really saves you from password management. So for all of you that have, software that offers it, enable it. Your risk is protected much higher. That's all I have.
Excellent. All right. So I know we're probably going to have a lot of questions on this one. So we're going to go around one more time. If everyone, because our wonderful friends at Durham are excellent at making these little tip sheets that come out afterwards. So we're going to get that soundbite. If everyone can give one privacy security tip that would be on that list. I know we've covered a lot of them, like Ted said, but one thing, and then now Ted, you're last again. No, I'm going to make Ted first because he always gets everyone else has said it. So yeah, Ted, okay. If people could do one thing to protect their privacy or security with online learning, what do you think that would be?
Only go to trusted sites.
Only trusted sites. All right, we're going backwards. Dino, one tip.
I know a lot of friends and family members that have smart home devices. They bring great convenience and functionality, but they're also vulnerable. So be careful.
Excellent. Amit, what do you think?
I would say two-factor authentication for all your cyber accounts is the key.
Okay, and just quickly for anyone who isn't familiar with two-factor or multi-factor authentication, so that's when you have something something you are, and something you have. So it's any combination of a password, and it could be a biometric like a fingerprint or a face print. Usually what it is a phone number. So if you try and log into your account, you need your email, and then it will phone you with a special pass to get on, or I'll text you. So I don't know, Amit, if you wanted to add to that, just.
So yes, two-factor authentication, we have enabled it for all our accounts. Every single time somebody tries to log in from a different device, your phone will alert you that somebody is trying to log in as you. from a different device. If it is you, which obviously in this day and age, where people are working remotely, you might be logging into different devices. So if you don't recognize that new device that is being logged into, and if you are not logging in, nobody else would be able to log in. Also, people try to impersonate you online, and this, again, two-factor authentication will somewhat alert you that somebody is trying to impersonate you, and suspicious login has been detected, where you can possibly change your password. And it's always best practice to link your phone number or an authenticator app to give you a secure code in addition to your password to be able to log into a system.
Excellent. Awesome. Chris, Marvell, what about you? What's the
Don't do quizzes on Facebook. Phishing for your password backup questions.
Yeah. Or the movie that came out when you were 12, or your first car, yeah.
And that's my password.
Or the name of your dog, or all right, Chris, your last one great tip.
Okay, I saw the question earlier. Somebody said, could you trust Office 365 and Google and Gmail? The truth is, if your board has integrated your IDs into a system, for example, for us, it's Office 365, Google, D2L. We have integrated our email addresses and our system password into these. These are the safe systems. So stick with the systems that you go into and you use your board account to get into, because then you know that has been endorsed and we can mitigate issues in these environments. We've assured privacy in these environments, and we've assured security. And if anything goes wrong, we can do something about it. If you use something that you're not using our ID for, it's not a lot we can do about it.
Excellent. Amazing. The one I guess I would add from a privacy security perspective for families that are sharing devices, if you could create separate accounts for every family member so that you're not sharing cookies and things across different sites and sharing information between the two. So we're going to take questions because I'm guessing there are going to be a lot. I just wanted to throw in, especially as a parent of young kids, none of this is mandatory. I know this comes out from the schools are trying to provide education for those who want it and can use it. This is a trying time. People are in a lot of different situations that we can't imagine and understand. And I know a lot of my friends are feeling a lot of pressure to have to homeschool and work, and a lot of them are still working because they're frontline workers. So this is, you do the best you can with what you have. And if this is something that works for your household, you use it in a way. If you need help, you reach out to people for help, but you do what you can right now. This is not a thing that you feel if you can't do it, you can't do it. All right, so what tech questions do we have? Jonah had asked, how transparent is the collaboration within the K-12 sector? Does anyone have an answer for that one? Yeah, Chris.
I'll let Chris Demers also speak to this. The IT directors, CIOs across the province are all in, we meet monthly, and as part of the Ontario Association for School Business Officials, OASBO. So we collaborate extensively on a monthly basis and even between meetings. And some of us, I see the MUSH sector there. I'm also in a local MUSH sector group here in Lambton and Chatham-Kent, where we collaborate with hospitals, colleges, and municipalities, and we share best practices as well. So a lot of collaboration is done and a lot of sharing is done. This is not like the private sector. This sector collaborates and shares, and everybody helps each other.
Yeah, that's right. I'm vice president of OASBO, and we are an association of school business officials, and we specifically we're active in the ICT group, and we share best practices, we share tools, we share our ideas, and we even have an active branch called the Educational Computing Network of Ontario that implements and our shared ideas and requirements into one shared repository that we all get together with. So definitely Ontario educational community is literally a community when it comes to technology and security. I'll post the websites of those two organizations I was talking about in the chat.
Excellent. All right, we've got a question. Other than recommending extra security for home devices and updating things like router software and stuff like that, VPNs. So I know that's a big question. I don't know, Ted, if this one, you want to take this one. What kinds of VPNs should people be using? Or do we trust free VPNs? Is there a recommendation?
Yeah, so I would never trust a free VPN. VPN services are great when you're looking at doing encrypted tunnels to a destination. Keep in mind that the tunnel is encrypted to that point, and afterwards it's not encrypted anymore. So to protect your home IP addresses, VPNs are good. Either it's going to be a hardware appliance in your house that's going to do the VPN, that's going to manage the security for the entire house, or it's going to be a software device on your system that's going to do a VPN session individually per device. If you use per device, then there's always going to be devices on your network that aren't encrypted. As mentioned earlier, IoT, so Internet of Things, technology won't be encrypted when it goes out. So it's always best to have an appliance that does the VPN connections for you. But in a pinch, no, a paid subscribed service for VPN is always best.
And
what type of VPN?
Sorry, can you quickly explain what a VPN is if someone's really not sure how that works for them?
So a VPN is virtual private network. It establishes a trust between 2 points. So between you and the destination, it creates a secure encrypted session. And the encryption can be varied by the algorithmic hash that's used, from 64-bit up to 1024 or greater, depending on what the appliance or the software will allow. And that traffic cannot be decompiled or viewed. So when you are logging onto a website and the website doesn't have the latest technology, you type in your username and password, that password hash won't be deciphered. So you're able to log into a secure site more securely without having to worry about somebody picking up that data on a wire sniffer or whatever, especially when you're on a wireless network. Because somebody can sit in the driveway, especially, well, now that you're at home, people in the neighborhood could be sniffing on your network, seeing what kind of packets are going across the wire, especially if you're in an apartment building or a condo. There's a lot of wireless networks. If your traffic's not encrypted, then it's easy for people to pick up your data and see what's actually happening on your network.
That's great. And IoT, you'd mentioned the Internet of Things. So somebody else had said, don't leave the door open. I think that was Dino. Yeah, if you build a castle with a high wall and then you leave the drawbridge down, it doesn't really help. If you buy something that connects to the Internet of Things and you plug it into your network at home, if you don't change that default password, you have left a door open to your home router and to everything that's on that home router. So Internet of Things is another thing that's good to understand if you're buying new things for your home. Yeah, Dino.
I just wanted to jump in. I thank you for, I didn't mean to cut you off. I like what Ted said. I don't want to say names out there of products, but I've noticed, Bitdefender and IPVanish are pretty decent opportunities to look at if you're looking for a VPN. And I don't know if anyone knows Sierra, which is, they created something called the Canadian Shield, and it's a free opportunity to protect against personal attacks of viruses and malware on your DNS, it's called. And it's very easy to install. It's free and it's online. I can send that link to everybody.
That's great. And yeah, you're right. Free is not usually good, but in this case, there are some companies that are trying to provide for good to provide for free.
Well, Sierra is not a free service, right? Sierra is actually, it's a public service.
Right.
So all the .ca domains that you purchase as a business, they contribute to Sierra. So it's a not-for-profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting lots of advice again to change the passwords on all of your devices. Again, especially your router, and not using public Wi-Fi to access things. I know there are, we mentioned there are public access areas for people who may not have internet in their home. So that's just something to be wary of if you are using public Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if there's other questions. I'm seeing a lot of—
One of the other things though to mention, just if I want to jump in for a second, is I know a lot of people are doing streaming. You mentioned it earlier. There's no streaming while you're on your Zoom. But if you have anyone in the house that's actually using other streaming technologies, such as, you know, not the main brands that you pay for subscription, if they're using a type of technology called Coode, keep in mind that there's a lot of back channel traffic that happens. So while you're streaming traffic, it creates a reverse proxy. So people can actually enter your home through that stream. So non-paid for streaming media is questionable as well.
And since we're talking about Zoom, I want to make sure that everyone's aware that they went from 10 million to over 200 million users, so that all of the Zoom bombing that's happened, make sure you set up Zoom according to what the CEO has actually sent out personal emails out on how to set up Zoom properly if you're going to use it for communication purposes.
Yeah, that's great. There was a question if IPTV is safe. Anyone familiar with IPTV?
Yeah, but you have to use a VPN.
So I think that somebody had asked about online banking as well. So online banking, again, if you're not using free Wi-Fi, if you're in a secure Wi-Fi section, you're logging into your banking. The banking should have a multi-factor authentication that you can set up. So again, if anyone missed that, that just means if someone else tries to log into your account from another computer, you get notified about that, so that you know if that's happening. But it should be safe. And although I didn't see it specifically, online banking connects up with the CRA now. That is safe. That is actually probably the safest way to connect up with the CRA if people are looking for that.
I will just add to that now it's a standard protocol that every website must be a secure socket layer website. So if your browser throws a warning that the certificate is not valid, please do not proceed to that website, even though it says override the protection and continue to that website. It's not a good idea.
It's a great tip. Any other questions? How are teachers entering assessments?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, Chris.
So we've got, in terms of our elementary assessment is an online system anyway. So there are no changes in terms of report cards and entering assessment. For our secondaries, it's a lot more challenging because our server for that is actually on premise. So you have to be on our network to access it. So we've set up a whole new infrastructure from idea to set up in less than a week, called VDI, which is a virtual desktop infrastructure, so that our secondary teachers can securely, from any device in a web browser, go on and access it as if they were sat in their classroom. This is an example of where technical work that normally takes months has had to be put through, but all the way mindful of security as we enable those teachers to be able to do those assessments. And that's particularly important to us because those students in grade 12 that will be graduating or applying for college this year need those marks in there. So that's been both elementary and secondary have been one of our biggest technical challenges as we've gone through this, that is non-educational, but in terms of teaching, but from a technical background perspective.
And I didn't see the question, but if a child is unable to do this, if they can't get online for any number of reasons, what happens to their marks?
If they can't what?
If they can't access online learning because of technical issues or health issues, what happens to their marks if they can't attend this learning environment?
I can give you a use case that's happened in the past when I was part of a board, but always go to the principal, call the school, speak with the principal, because they know what they're doing with the assessment and evaluations, and they will be very helpful.
Yeah, that's true with us too. If you contact the principals will enable what accommodations people require to get the instruction they require.
Yeah. And Chris,
And we've got a multi-track approach, because some of our communities, such as like First Nation communities, they not only have internet, but they don't have things like cell phone towers, decent cell phone to set up an LTE hotspot or anything like that. So we have multiple tracks as to how we provide the support. The big thing that we focused on in the first 2 weeks is teachers reaching out to every single student by some way or another. So that might have ended up as a telephone call to the home. We set up a special telephone service so that teachers could dial into a virtual PBX and dial out, so it didn't put their personal phone number on it. It looked as though it came from the board. And if all else fails, packs are going out at the moment with learning materials in paper, and we're getting them. Just like if we tried to get a device, this week that happened to us, try to get devices to families, and one of the families has a COVID case in their house, so they can't come on site. So we're mailing it, purelating it to them. So we are dealing with things on a case-by-case basis and making every single effort to reach out to every single student.
Which is an insurmountable problem, really. And I think it was Joan had asked earlier about accessibility issues, right? There's various learning methods, there's kids who require extra resources. And so you're saying if this doesn't work for your kid, reach out to the school board, reach out to the principal, and they will best effort this to fit your child. And again, even there's teachers who are home with young children that they have to look after, right? And those teachers are also having a lot of difficulty finding the time to carve out to do this. So this is it's a big chore for everyone. Any other questions around the tech for parents, for students?
I did see a couple of questions come through from Twitter, but I'm going to address them when we close, because we're getting some feedback that people would like a second session on this, so we'll talk about that once we're closing up.
Okay.
I see a couple of others. I think, Kat, if you want to take one more, there's a question from Alvi which says, the Canadian Shield is free, but do you still recommend it?
Yeah, who wanted to talk about the Canadian Shield? Dino.
I don't think any of us could truly recommend it, but I guess it's a bit of due diligence and read the site and check it out. They're a reputable organization, but again, it's not something I could recommend 100%.
And you dropped Common Sense Media in there, which I love. And Common Sense Media also evaluates games, apps, movies, you name it, for kids, tells you what age appropriate levels they are. So if you're looking for other applications, whether it's educational or mental wellness or anything else for your kids, commonsensemedia.org is a great site for that.
Yeah, and Kat, I see one, and we'll probably take this one as the last one. And I know this from personal experience. A lot of parents, etc., have set up WhatsApp groups for conversations. Kat, let's take that as the last one, and then we'll close, whoever wants to go.
I'm not a fan of WhatsApp. Does anyone else want to say anything positive about WhatsApp? We're getting a lot of head shaking. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. It's had a number of security issues.
Yep.
Not be my choice. Anybody have any good alternatives if parents want to set up groups other than WhatsApp?
Yeah, like we set up like our board, I know many boards do, like we set up classrooms, like Google Classrooms and D2L Classrooms for every single class in our school board. So if educators want to enable the students, there's chat areas and ways for students to communicate between each other within our environments using board IDs. They don't need to set up a third party. Google Classroom, Google Chat, and D2L all have areas where students can message each other. Plus, we give all students email addresses that they can email each other if they want. So there's no need to go out and create new groups.
That's great. And somebody had mentioned, Dylan mentioned Signal. Signal is Signal is free. Signal is also encrypted. It's encrypted chat, and that is actually a good site. One thing I would highly recommend, not even from a other perspective, is Snapchat, Instagram. None of those are protected. So if kids are looking for alternate ways to chat, that would not be the ideal way to do it.
All right, so I think we'll pause on the questions there, and it's 1:03, so I really want to give everybody back there. I mean, we said we'd close at 1 or between 1 and 1:10, so I think we're good for time. So Kat, if I have your permission, and the panelists have nothing else to add, do you mind if I bring this to a close with a couple of quick announcements?
Sounds great.
Panelists, anything else that you want to add before I wrap up?
No.
Fantastic. So firstly, I do want to thank all of you and I'll give you a virtual applause for everything that you've done. You've taken 1 hour of your time, and a lot of prep work goes into this kind of work. So thank you very much. Be assured that this kind of work does not go unnoticed, that the support that you give Durham College doesn't go unnoticed. And if you go on our Instagram and Twitter, you'll see we've not only spoken about your work as individuals, but we've celebrated the work that you're doing in the communities by mentioning your institutions and repeatedly thanking them. I will tell you that on social media, we've received a lot of likes, a lot of comments, and it's just great for us to be able to celebrate community in different ways. A couple of important announcements. Number one is, I know our next webinar is set for April 23rd, but in light of the fact that we've received a lot of comments to do a second session, I will be reaching out to our friends at Invest Durham, which is the municipality here in Durham region, who have sponsored these sessions. I will be reaching out to them to see if we can change the dates and do a second session, but on something more specific around online learning. I have a feeling it's going to be around video conferencing, and we'll confirm that in the next 24 to 48 hours. So you'll see a couple of date changes happen there. We've also been asked to do some stuff around COVID-specific attacks and to do some stuff around examples of how you've actually been attacked and what have you done as an individual as opposed to an enterprise. What have you done to fix things or to mediate against things? Proactive versus reactive. So we'll be doing sessions on that. So we'll be working on this in the next 24 to 48 hours and publishing everything online. I do ask everyone that if you have a moment, please follow at the AI Hub and at DC Center for Cyber on Instagram and Twitter. That's where you'll get all of our information. And at the same time, all of the folks who've been on this panel, all of their Twitter handles, etc., are on there. Binary Tattoo, which does a lot of work in privacy assessments and has worked at Durham College as well. We're looking at seeing where you stand from a compliance and privacy perspective. She's the person to speak to. Obviously, the school boards and all the great stuff that they do. If you're an entrepreneur, you're looking for a soft landing, I think Spark Niagara with Dino is a great place to get started. And if you have questions about your enterprise security and you're looking to get some work done, Ted is the man here in Durham region with his team over at SIMNET, so please reach out to them. We also have the community coming together. I see Jitu has just commented from TS Interactive. If you are looking for interactive screens at home, much more robust web camera setups, screens in which you can write and display, and more screens that can get more work done. If you have any questions around that, please reach out to Jitu from TS Interactive. He's kindly also extended a 25% discount to all of the folks who are here on the webinar if you see anything on his site that you would like and you'd like to use in your home environments. Likewise, if you have any questions for us here at Durham College, please reach out to us. We will be changing the dates on the upcoming webinars. We'll obviously be sending you emails to that effect. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Recordings, tip sheets, and notes will all start firing out next week. So with that, I'm going to thank all of you for making this a successful webinar, and we'll see you all online. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be in touch. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris and Chris and Kat.
Thank you.
And Amit and Ted. And Ali, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.